Hey everybody, it's Ed O'Keefe, and welcome to this quick little edition of the Ed O'Keefe Show. And this topic is going to be on podcasting, monetization of a podcast or content, and being yourself. So I just got back from a great trip in Colorado where I spent time with Jesse Itzler, his trainer Mark Brown, and a great group of guys that have known Jesse for a really long time. Rick Steele, Nick Morris, who's one of the co-founders of Health Warrior, which if you haven't checked out Health Warrior yet, please do. They got great food over there, great bars. And Adam Hinsick and Kevin the Cop is his nickname. Kevin the Cop. I don't even know his last name. He's an awesome dude. But talked about everything. First of all, we did amazingly hard challenges, which I'll probably talk about more on a different episode since these are mini episodes. But I'm getting a lot of feedback about the podcast. So I want to talk about the podcast really quickly. As you may have known, I've changed the format slightly, meaning I am putting more podcasts out in this mini episode format. And most of the interviews I post out come from live events, come from my seminars or some of my client meetings where I hold our trainings. And the reason is, just full disclosure, kind of give you my thought process. Now, before I give you my full thought process, let me tell you this. There's no perfect way of doing these things. I think I have always wanted to do a podcast, and the main reason I like doing it is because since I'm actually in the trenches running a health supplement business, a coaching business, I don't get to speak to people. I really enjoy speaking in large groups. I like being around people, and I have a lot of thoughts that I want to get out into the world. You know, it's kind of my thing, right? And a podcast, which is the way, I've studied every way to set up. You can do the expensive route or you can do the really inexpensive route, which this is the really inexpensive route. And for years, the model has been to look at people like James Altucher, Tim Ferriss, Joe Rogan, and most podcasters, my buddy Lewis Howes, like these guys, everyone tries when they get into the game, they're kind of attracted to those types of people. Like they do the long format. They're monetizing the heck out of their audiences. And I say that in the best way possible. They have a huge audience, so sponsors are going to them and paying them a large sum just for doing the podcast, right? And so I want to talk briefly about my little strategy and why I think if you are in business at all, if you have a tribe, customer base, if you have a following at all, I really highly recommend running a podcast. And the reason is that the deliverability to your audience and your ability to speak in a vacuum, meaning it's just you one-on-one, even though it's group delivery, and your ability to get past all the gatekeepers and filters that are in everybody's world and the clutter that fills up people's inboxes, text messages, Facebook feeds. A podcast, if they subscribe, they're going to get a notification that you just put out a new podcast. Now, they're not going to listen to everything, but some people will. And if you have any means or any idea in the future of like, oh, I'd like to start something like a superfood brand or a supplement brand or a coaching business, whatever it might be, it's a great vehicle to launch your voice and talk to your tribe in a very uncluttered format. Most people now consume, and think about it, and I don't know this exact statistics, but almost everyone that I speak to tells me they listen to like 1 or 2 podcasts a day. And that is their main source of entertainment or news or information. And you can communicate that. Now, the structure that I'm coming to enjoy a lot more are these shorter podcasts. And the reason being is because I could pick 1 or 2 topics, talk about them, and I'm done. And the good news is for you, the listener, is that if you didn't like the topic that day and it was only 9 minutes of your time or 7 minutes or 11 minutes, you didn't lose a lot of investment, right? So if it was a 3-hour podcast and I've been on those 3-hour podcasts where you're like waiting for the topic to get good. Like, when is this going to get good? And it just never does. You just invested 2.5 hours. It's like a bad movie that you can't get it back. So that's kind of the format that I'm liking a lot. First person I saw do like the really short version is Mike Rowe from the Dirtiest Jobs. He's got a great one. He tells stories. It's great. You should check it out. Highly recommend it. And with all that said, I love the long form ones as well. The way my life is structured though, and this is something you have to look at. How's my life structured? What is going to be convenient for me? What is going to be easily consumable for my audience, and what is something that we as a business can, or an individual can consistently put out to create the habit pattern of listening to your podcast, okay? So that's number 1 and 2. Okay, monetization. So this is always an interesting thing. So when you look at a business, if you have a real business, then obviously the monetization is sending them back to your business. If you're a comedian, like if you look at Joe Rogan, he'll tell you all the dates that are coming up in every one of his tours. So obviously he's still out hustling. And a lot of the guests that he has on, like, he's hustling his dates. He is realizing that his job as a leader of his brand is to be the number 1 sales rep of his brand. No one is going to be the number 1 sales rep of your brand. It is on your shoulders at the end of the day. You can hire agencies, you can hire media reps, you can hire publicity people. But at the end of the day, the messaging, the crafting of your brand, what you're trying to put out into the world has to really be crafted by you and intentionally put out there. Now, yes, you can hire people once that initial crafting is done, but you get my point. Number 2 is most of the people that, and I started noticing this, most of the people that Joe's bringing on this podcast, probably every 4th or 5th episode, is another comedian. And the reason being is because those guys are out hustling and trying to get as famous as they possibly can and fill their own shows and build their own podcasts and build their own tribes. There's a great episode on the James Altucher show. I don't know the guy's name, but he was a great example about how when he started, he just wanted to get out and perform. And he told his agent, I don't care how many people are in the crowd. I don't care where the thing is. Just put me on the road. And over time, he built this just ridiculous fan base that now he sells out 150 shows on the road, maybe even more, all around the country. And he's not famous. Not that many people know who he is. But the people that do know who he is are rabidly word-of-mouth followers, and they fill up his show. So he had that mentality. Now, a great story, and I should find the guy's name out so I can share this, but the great story behind that was he was telling Altucher how he would never, when he was a waiter or a bartender, forgive me for getting the specifics slightly wrong, a waiter or a bartender, he would always leave on his break, and he would drive across town, 10 or 15 minutes, and he would do a set, which is what comedians call their little 15-minute or 30-minute shticks. And then he'd drive back to and work the rest of his shift. And his thought process was that he heard once of a story of someone who was famous, or someone who was discovered because there was someone like an agent or someone, a big name in the audience, in the crowd of one of his sets. And this young comedian decided, he's like, I'm never going to miss an opportunity to perform, because you never know who is listening. Now, that's a big lesson right there. You never know who's listening, right? So with your podcast, one of the things that, and even like this is totally true for Facebook Lives. This is true for you appearing on other people's podcasts. One of the little mentality things you got to get in your head is that your goal is not necessarily to focus on downloads and subscribers. Those are nice little KPIs, like key performance indicators of your growth of your podcast. You could do that, right? But the real thing you want to realize is like, well, where are you trying to go? And are you hitting that because of your podcast or your Facebook Lives or your book launch? Because it's very relevant to all those topics. And the point being is that if I'm trying to fill my seminar, so we have an event coming up next month, and we just had actually another event this month in August sell out, and then we have another month in September, which we're just promoting now, which I am confident we're going to be able to sell out, which, by the way, you can check out, total plug here, at trafficmasterylive.com. All the promotions are getting put up this week. See how I just plugged that? That was great. But seriously, if you want to sell out and you want to push people into that, for me, it doesn't matter if I had 1 million downloads this month, because I'm not doing sponsorships yet. I'm focused on the Ed O'Keefe brand, the Ed O'Keefe show, our seminars we're running to help more clients. And so if I could notice that through my Facebook Lives, through my podcasting, and through me, obviously we measure our ad spend directly, so we can see, here's how many ads we ran, here's our return on ad spend. Podcasts are a little different than that. You got to kind of measure this stuff over time, okay? So monetization for me is definitely building my audience so that I could fill up my seminars. And then if I decide to come out with a book in the future, I have an audience that I could promote it to. If I want to promote a friend's one of my friends' things or one of my investments, like No Foods. No Foods are coming out with a brand new cookie in the next month or so. I'll let you guys all know when that is. Obviously, my goal would be to expose the things that I think are valuable for people. I have no investment in Health Warrior, and I can talk about cool things. So, it gives you a point of contribution and authority. So that was podcasting, monetization, and being yourself. Oh, third thing. This is the last thing. It's going to be less than 30 seconds, so bear with me. You could spend a lot of time trying to model Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan. And, modeling them as interviewers is not a bad thing. They're very good interviewers. Tim's one of the best out there. But at the end of the day, you got to be yourself. And I see guys right now who are just trying to be Gary Vee and trying to be as cool as Grant Cardone. And all that stuff is it just screams shallowness. It screams inauthenticity. There's lack of integrity in the message. When you get face to face with people, you could see right through it. And I have another guy I know who takes almost the same emails Tim Ferriss sends out about drunk dialing and about doing this, and he's doing the same things. It's just silly. So the most of the public will not notice that. But a big portion of, I think, who your audience really is and who you want to be known for, at the end of the day, it's you and yourself, right? So whatever you decide to do, just do me a favor. Be yourself and let your brand, the things that you want to do, be you. And I get it. It's one of those things where we're all trying to figure that out because we're all still growing up and we're all trying to figure out who we want to be next year or next month. And I totally understand, right? But if you want to do it, make it as easy as possible for yourself. Don't judge yourself and just get the message out there. Trust me, there's people out there right now who need to hear whatever message you are promoting. And I really want to encourage you to just get it out there. And I would love to, if you're looking for permission to do it, please just do it. No matter what it is, by the way, if it's a podcast, a book, a new product, anything. Just get it out there, man. The world needs better people doing better things. It's what we're supposed to be doing. That's the whole point of this podcast, and everything I do is, surround myself with amazing people. And what I found is over time, the people that end up circling in my life are just awesome people doing great things. And, you don't have to force it because you're being you. That shows, and then they attract to you. It's a great, great thing to do. So that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, here's a little plug. We have our event coming up soon. TrafficMasteryLive.com is the website. It will be in Nashville. I have over 13 of the world's best e-commerce, online traffic experts, everything from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, even podcasting. I don't even want to line up on the podcasting yet, but possibly soon. Influencer marketing, SEO. And it's really targeted towards people who want to grow their health, fitness, and nutrition businesses online. That's the main focus, online, e-com. It's growing like crazy. So if you know anybody who could benefit from that, please send them over to TrafficMasteryLive.com. EdO'KeefeShow.com is getting rebranded right now, so bear with me if you check it out and it looks like it's a little scattered. It is, but we'll fix that up soon. And if you have any questions or need anything, let us know at support@EdO'KeefeShow.com. And I appreciate you guys. Have an amazing, amazing day and keep being you. Peace out.